Je anilo premadano karma kacho.
I did it for 3 or 4 years.
In general. Did you chant extra rounds?
No, just in the normal service.
Actually, in Fiji, they do it all the time. Every single Ekadasi, they all do it. They go to work, they do everything, but they chant. I think they chant 32 or 64 rounds, and they just, every Ekadasi, they do practically Nirjala Ekadasi. I think Indian people have got so much samskar, so much punya samskars from the previous life, purva samskar. Very, very, very good. Past impressions are so strong in spiritual life. They can easily do these things.
Let's wait till we take verses in the Indians, Maharaj. This verse will just... She should do it, Maharaj. Radhakanta, you should be doing it.
Doing it every Ekadasi. 64 rounds, right?
Maybe you want to take some prashadam?
I took something on the plane.
You're joking.
Huh? Did you prepare anything?
Yeah.
You prepared for sure?
Yeah, definitely.
I told the secretary you didn't fax them to tell them that we were going to eat on it.
I rang up twice in Sydney.
I never found anything.
Yeah.
I figured it'd be so late.
But you don't have to wait.
We
will
try a little bit. Is that when you normally eat?
We just eat all the time, Maharaj. Our Bhagavad is it's just outrageous. We eat all day. Mangalarati, they're eating. 7 o'clock they're eating. 8 o'clock they're eating. 12 o'clock they're eating. 4 o'clock they're eating. I see some devotees eating all the time. And then I say, where are you going? And they go, I'm going to Gopal's. That's all we've got.
We're prashadam addicts.
Yeah.
That's good. That's nothing wrong with that. Prabhupada encouraged that. Prabhupada's father used to hang lichus on the, or whatever fruit was in season, would hang it on a little peg in his house so that whenever he wanted, he could take something to eat. Prabhupada said he used to hang fruits there. So that anytime he could just take fruit.
We can't afford that, Maharaj. We'd have to have cooks 24 hours a day.
All right. So this is when you all take prashad?
No.
You take in the evening or noon?
Yeah, I mean most devotees they eat at noon and they eat at 7 o'clock.
In the evening?
Yeah. Then I go and I think they eat again at 9.
Okay.
Because if you like, you can have some prashad. Then
I'll see what there is. You can show me what you got.
Because it's 5 o'clock, 5:15.
So show me what you have. Very good girls. Where do they grow these flowers? Locally?
Whose garden? Unless they're imported.
They're imported?
No, they're from here.
They're not from here?
Yeah, they're from here.
They grow them here?
Yeah. Most of these flowers are from Manasi.
And what happened? Too early. I got them in Melbourne. In Sydney, they were out. What are those called?
Jonquils.
Jonquils.
Early
chair. You're just a little early, Maharaj, for those.
Those are the best flowers.
Yeah.
Jonquils.
Yeah.
Those little ones.
Yeah.
Different colors, I mean. Yellow and There's a white one. Maybe they'll come out by the time we get up there. It has to get colder or warmer.
Cold.
That's a mixed blend. Freeze, but it smells good. Can't get, that's the nature of this world. Isn't it?
Yeah, you can't win, my right.
You can't get everything at the same time.
You just can't enjoy.
No. Oh, Garland Lokanath march through you. Seeing the Son is like seeing the Father. I always recommended to him to take Lokanath marches as spiritual message. He had it in his mind, and I, even without knowing it, I said it, right? In Vrindavan. I said, that's the right person for you.
It's starting to look like him now.
Yeah.
He's always thinking.
Lokanath was just so attractive and saintly. His heart is so nice. Very nice. The more he walks, the more glorious he becomes. Keeps walking. Such a simple instruction just goes to show when the spiritual master gives an order, if the disciple carries it out, it becomes glorious. He has such a simple order. Just go and walk with beloved cards. What a simple instruction. But it's such a big, powerful effect has come from such a simple instruction. No one could have imagined it. Okay, so what time is the evening program?
It's still the same.
It's still the same.
I hope so. Last time I was here, I had to campaign against the renovation plan.
I heard.
But if you improve it, it'll be alright.
He's going to put a balcony out there with a.
Anyhow, we'll see.
Yeah, but then that room won't get the direct sun.
It's going to be.
I'll show you what I was thinking of doing. I'm not doing anything now, am I right?
That's a very good room. They have a very good room now in Sydney to attract the sannyasis to stay. I was the first one to stay there the last time.
Oh, the one downstairs.
No, that was where they were going to do it. So then when I came, the brahmacharis got out and they fixed up that room.
Yeah.
And then once I stayed there, they just decided not to let the brahmacharis come back in. And they got them their own place. And now it's a very good quarters. I think that's helpful. Melbourne has a very good place. Actually, that's why I went to Melbourne first, before, because I wanted to go into that place. And then from Melbourne, I went to this place. I went to shack on the farm in Newcastle. It was complete, I had to remember Prabhupada. Prabhupada used to go from very aristocratic places, and then we, into some simple thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long
Was
as
it mud brick? Was it one of those mud brick houses?
No, it was a real shack. It was a shack, but it was
Whereabouts?
just above the temple. There's a little
Shack.
The
original shack of the farm.
Yeah.
I never stayed in that one.
But it's nice, it's cleaned up. Got a couple of rooms. And it's near the temple, so that's good. It's 30 seconds you can be in the temple room. It was good. And it's beautiful to take prashadam. I sat out there in the, on the porch. Mountains in the background, trees. Beautiful birds there. Boy, Australia's got some incredible birds. Maybe here also. Very extraordinary wildlife. And the friendliest cows I've ever seen. I've never seen cows like that. Those cows up there. Because they all live with the cows a lot. All the cows are in the brahmachari ashram right over the cow barn.
Oh, this is in
This is in Cessna.
yeah. Oh, that's unbelievable.
Have you seen it?
Fantastic. It's the ultimate. It's actually our best farm.
That is the best one.
It's the best farm.
It's amazing too because we all panned it, you know.
I know.
But actually, it's turned out to be that's where they got the grant.
Yeah, that's the best.
And the cows are very.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, the first thing that they did is they set up the farm to suit the cows. They put in that run there. They divided the paddocks.
Yeah.
When the cows are born, they go and live with the TP. He takes them home and they stays in the backyard and they sort of like hand feed them and get to know
The cows are
Yeah.
all day long. They're fed prashadam.
it. No, that place is just really good.
Cows are really amazing. As soon as it's devotee prasadam time, all the cows run to the fence. Because the devotees, they get prasadam, the first thing before they even start eating, they just feed the cows. And it's really the bull likes khichdi. All the cows get burfi. All the animals have the cat gets the mahapakoras. Only in this country.
I know the shack you're talking about now.
Yeah, it's a
The
shame.
shack. That's a real shack, and that's unbelievable. They put you in there.
Because last year they wanted to do something better. They gave me a house. But the problem was that it was on the weekend of the International Dirt Bike. And the house they put me in was right at the top of the hill where, everybody does their changing gears and everything. And the whole 2 days or 3 days I was there, it was like there was a dirt bike race going right in front of me. So I told him, could you please give me a place that's just where the devotees. And so we got just a place for it. So that's where they put me. So you won't take Rochelle. I'll see what's happening up there.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj ki
Jai.
jai. Gurudev ki
Jai.
jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Or Bhaktivedanta Swami Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Chaitanya Prabhu, Jaya Guru, Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu. Om Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. What is called somewhere? I don't know where he go. Okay, he wants to do it. Om Abhyam Janam Jana Savakaya Chaksul Amilatam Jena Tasmai Sri Kamave Maha Sri Chaitanya Manudasana Stapitam Jena Bhutanai Swayam Rupadhamayam Dadati Swapandantikam. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare
Jai Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki
Jai
Jai Nityananda Prabhu ki
Jai
Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki
Jai
So, Kalasam Mahaprabhu has chosen for us to read a section from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So on his request and suggestion, we are going to read Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, Volume 1, Chapter 2, entitled The Ecstatic Manifestations of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Vichedismin prabodantya lila shrutanuvardhane Gaurasya Krishna Vicheda Palapadyanuvarnyate. While relating in synopsis from form the last division of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in this chapter I shall describe the Lord's transcendental ecstasy, which appears like madness due to his separation from Krishna. Purport. In this second chapter, the activities of Lord Chaitanya that took place after the Lord accepted sannyas are generally described. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is specifically mentioned here as being Gaura, or of fair complexion. Krishna is generally known to be blackish, but when he is absorbed in the thought of the gopis, who are all of fair complexion, Krishna himself also becomes fair. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in particular felt separation from Krishna very deeply, exactly like a lover who is dejected in separation from the beloved. Such feelings, which were expressed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for nearly 12 years at the end of his pastimes, are described in brief in this second chapter of Madhya Lila. So, Lord Chaitanya is called Gaura, and Srimati Radharani is called Gauri. Both are golden. Gaura is the masculine ending for the word, and Gauri is feminine ending. But both indicate one who is golden in complexion. So, actually, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna who has stolen the complexion of Srimati Radharani. We say that the absolute truth is Radha Krishna, not Krishna alone, because we don't worship God alone. We worship God in connection and in his complete form with his energies. Therefore, we don't just say Krishna, we say Hare Krishna. We don't say Rama, but we say Sita Ram. We don't just say Narayan, we say Lakshmi Narayan. Because the complete form of the Lord is to see him in relationship with his energies. Because God alone is not God. But God, when he is with his devotees and energies, is actually God. So, it is not so difficult to understand. Just like we have experience that when we are alone, we may have some pleasure. But as soon as we are in association with those who are loved by us, so many more qualities and our full nature becomes manifest. So Krishna is never seen alone. If you look at a painting of Krishna, you will not see Krishna alone. Because Krishna is always surrounded by his devotees. In fact, one of the 64 special qualities, 4 final qualities of Krishna, which make him very unique, is that he is surrounded especially by particular devotees whose love cannot be equaled anywhere else in existence. Nowhere else in the material world, nor anywhere else in the spiritual world, besides in Vrindavan, do we find such special devotees as those who worship Krishna. So amongst all such special devotees, the best of all is Srimati Radharani. And she is such a devotee of Krishna that she steals his mind away. This is the best of all the qualities of God, that he becomes conquered by his devotee. Because Krishna, or God, is known as a Jita, he cannot be conquered. But there is a special quality which he has, that when he gets into association with those who love him very, very, very much, then he becomes conquered or controlled by the love of his devotees. So it is said that God is all-powerful, but love of God, or Bhakti, is still more powerful than God himself. And therefore, Bhakta, or the devotee who possesses Bhakti, is actually able to surpass the Lord. So in the loving dealings between Krishna and Krishna's devotees, we see that the devotees, especially in Vrindavan, are even more powerful than the Lord himself. In Vaikuntha, where Lord Narayan is presiding, he is supreme, and there is no one equal to him. Everyone in the Vaikuntha planets takes the mood as a servant of Lord Narayan. But in Vrindavan, the special nature of the loving devotees there is that they take a superior position to Krishna. So Mother Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj feel themselves to be Krishna's superiors. We don't see this conception of God in any other religion in the world. Every religion in the world holds God to be almighty and supreme with everyone else below him. But in Krishna's pastimes, especially in the most sacred part of the spiritual sky, that is the original home of Krishna, there are devotees who feel themselves to be superior to Krishna or God. His mother and father, and the motherly and fatherly gopas and gopis, they feel Krishna is subordinate to them. Krishna's cowherd friends, they also feel that there's a chance that today, when they go out to play with Krishna, that they may defeat him in wrestling or in some other competition. And so far the gopis are concerned, they're always keeping Krishna under their control. So this is something which is inconceivable to most persons, because for most people, God is so almighty that they cannot conceive of him in such a affectionate way as is seen in the residents of Vrindavan. In the Chaitanya Chaitamrita, there is a discussion about the causes for Lord Chaitanya's descent. And in that chapter, it is mentioned that the whole world is full of awe and reverence. Krishna's thinking. It reveals Krishna's mind. This is another special quality of such advanced and perfect devotees. Just like the author of Chaitanya Chaitamrita, Srila Krishna Kaviraj Goswami, they can understand the mind of the Lord. It is very difficult to understand another person's mind. What to speak of understanding the mind or heart of God. But who else but a devotee can know it? And it is not surprising, because Krishna declares that within the heart of all living entities he resides, but within his heart resides his devotees. So a devotee certainly knows the heart or mind of the Lord. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is such a qualified devotee that he tells us what Krishna is thinking. Krishna is thinking that all over the universe, there are so many who respect and worship me as the Almighty God. But I am not so much attracted by this type of mood. Why? Because when there's a consideration of God the Almighty, then natural love becomes diminished. Just like if a man who occupies a big governmental position, if he comes home to his family, then they don't remind him of his position as a government leader. Rather, they address him in affectionate terms. The wife will say, "My dear husband," or the children will say, "Daddy," or some affectionate way of calling him. And this produces within him so much more feeling of affection, natural affection, than when he's addressed as Your Honor or Mr. President or whatever his position may be. So in the same way, the feelings which were absent all over the universe, Krishna said, I cannot find such spontaneous devotion as the residents of Vrindavan have for me. So just to populate the universe, or just to fill the universe with devotees with such feelings, he decided, I have to come again. And this is the main reason, in one sense, the immediate reason for Lord Chaitanya's descent. There's another immediate reason, that it was the time of the Kali Yuga, in which the Dharma for this Yuga is Nam Sankirtan. So taking advantage of the fact that in the Kali Yuga, God consciousness must be spread by the process of Nam Sankirtan, not only by Lord Chaitanya. In every Kali Yuga, Nam Sankirtan is the means of spreading God consciousness. But in this Kali Yuga, the special feature of it was that it was done by Lord Chaitanya. Otherwise, it is always done as Nam Sankirtan. But in this Kali Yuga, it was personally done by Lord Chaitanya. And the speciality of Lord Chaitanya is that he came with the purpose of inducing the population of the world to develop the mood of spontaneous love of the residents of Vrindavan. And so, to do this, he took help. Because the Lord always takes help, just as we should always take help. He took help from those who were qualified. So who could be better qualified to assist him than his eternal associates? And so the appearance of Lord Chaitanya is accompanied by so many other associates. All of the residents. Narottam Thakur says that Lord Chaitanya is the son, Brajendranana came, the son of Brajendranana came as Lord Chaitanya, and Balaram came as Nitai. And not only them, but all of the associates of Krishna and Balaram, they all descended in different personalities, as different personalities, to assist Lord Chaitanya in his pastimes. So, internally, there is, of course, further reason that amongst all of the residents of Vrindavan, the best of all devotees is, according to everybody's opinion, Srimati Radharani. And certainly it is Krishna's own feeling, because without Srimati Radharani, Krishna cannot feel himself satisfied and happy. This is also a wonderful fact, because even an ordinary liberated person is called Atmarama, which means self-satisfied. And there could not be a better Atmarama than Krishna himself. And yet we see that without Radharani, Krishna can't be Atmarama. Now someone may say that that is a contradiction, but it is not actually a contradiction, because actually Radharani is not different than Krishna. Naturally, Krishna cannot be satisfied without Radharani, because Radharani is practically Krishna's own self. She is the Ladini Shakti of Krishna. When Krishna has the desire to be happy, Radharani is that potency which brings happiness to Krishna. So without Radharani, Krishna's happiness is not complete. And when she gives pleasure to Krishna, she, from her side, becomes filled with pleasure. And so a competition arises between Krishna and Radharani, between the happiness that Krishna feels and the happiness that Radharani feels. And the basis for their happiness is the pleasure that they give to each other. It is totally different than mundane happiness, in which the happiness is based on how much the individual feels given pleasure by the other person. Here the pleasure comes from giving happiness to the other party. And therefore it is not called lust, it is called love. Because what is the definition of love? Love means to serve someone else or to give pleasure to someone else without any thought of anything in return. Whereas lust means the desire to enjoy at another person's expense. So, in the dealings between Radha and Krishna, there is no material lust, but it is pure love. And Radharani, in this competition, proves herself to be able to outdo Krishna. Why? Because she is so highly qualified that Krishna derives so much pleasure from her qualities that she, from her side, becomes still more pleased. And Krishna sees this, that in dealings with me, I find, he says, that Radharani's happiness surpasses mine. So, being astonished at this, and being curious and wondering at this, Krishna thinks that there is no way for me to fully understand the feelings of Srimati Radharani unless I myself accept her qualities and I accept her mood. And so, in order to understand the loving mood of Srimati Radharani, Krishna takes her color, her complexion, her mood, her qualities, and he descends in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, in Vrindavan, there is a beautiful place, a very sacred place called Imli Tal. Perhaps you have seen this place. Tal means tree. The Imli Tal, the Imli tree, is in the heart of Vrindavan, and it is a place where Lord Chaitanya used to sit and actually cry transcendentally in separation from Krishna. Lord Chaitanya, in the mood of Radharani, used to feel intense separation from Krishna. And crying in this way, his body used to turn blackish in color, because he would be so absorbed in thought of Krishna that he would take on the color of Krishna. But there is an older history in this place, which is that this is the same place where Krishna used to personally sit, and he used to think in separation of Radharani. And sitting in this place, his body used to turn golden. So this is the nature of loving affairs between Radha and Krishna, that they take on each other's qualities, because this is the nature of persons who are in love. That they are so much absorbed thinking of the person whom they love, that the very qualities of that person are accepted by them. So this chapter, the ecstatic manifestations of Lord Chaitanya, Prabhupada says that his experiences which he felt in the last 12 years of his presence are summarized in this chapter. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktivedanta. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Lord Nityananda. All glories to Advaita Chandra. All glories to the devotees of the Lord. Shesha Yera Hila Prabhuda Dvadasha Vatsara Krishnana Viyoga Spurti Haya Nirantara. During his last 12 years, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always manifested all the symptoms of ecstasy in separation from Krishna. Viyoga. There are two things, yoga and viyoga. Yoga means union, and viyoga means separation. So if you see in Chaitanya Chaitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 23, I believe chapter 23, you will see these two terms are described, and they are all the different manifestations of Mahabhav, Bhav and Mahabhav. In other words, we see in the development of devotional service different stages, beginning with Shraddha, faith, simple faith, and gradually leading, which faith leads to Sadhu Sangha, a devotees' association. And Sadhu Sangha, by associating with devotees, we become more and more convinced about Krishna consciousness, to the point where we determine that now I shall seriously practice, and that is called Bhajana Kriya, where we begin to take up the discipline of devotional life. And after that, by practicing very regularly under the guidance of the Guru, the result will be anartha nivritti. The impurities and unwanted things will become cleared away from our heart. After the stage of anartha nivritti comes nishta, where you become, when you no longer have such unwanted things in your heart, then nishta means that you become very firm in your faith, in your devotion. And in that steady faith, taste will gradually come, ruchi. And ruchi leads to ashakti, and that leads to bhava, the first ray of love of God, which is prema. Now in prema is only the beginning. So according to the different rasas that one has with Krishna, this prema is manifested on higher and higher levels. And yoga and viyoga are two qualities, meeting and separation, which takes place within the level of prema or love of God. And according to the rasa, there are different manifestations of yoga and viyoga. So here it is mentioned that Lord Chaitanya always manifested all the symptoms of ecstasy and separation from Krishna. Now, do you have Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila here? 23, chapter 23. Can someone bring it to me? You used to have all the books. Where are they in?
Oh, years ago. Took out too much room.
Chapter 23. Go quickly. I'll just read you something about yoga and yoga, and it will make it clear. Actually, when we study Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is a science. And if we study it very meticulously, then things will become much more understandable and clear to us. Otherwise, we may just read and hear nice pastimes, and that is also good. But actually, it should be studied very carefully. It is a great science, and it shouldn't be glossed over quickly. A little patience. We'll get the book. Okay. There are two divisions of each of the five mellows: yoga, which is connection, and viyoga, separation. Among the mellows of friendship and parental affection, there are many divisions of yoga and viyoga. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, these divisions are described. Ayoga yogeshvatasya pravado katito rabo. In the mellows of Bhakti Yoga, there are two stages, a yoga and a yoga. A yoga is described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as follows, and there's a Sanskrit. Learned scholars in the science of Bhakti Yoga say that when there is an absence of association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, separation takes place. In the stage of the ayoga, separation, the mind is filled with Krishna consciousness and is fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. In that stage, the devotee searches out the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is said that in that stage of separation, all the devotees in the different mellows are always active in thinking of ways to attain Krishna's association. The word yoga, connection, is thus described, quotes, when one meets Krishna directly, that is called yoga. In the transcendental mellows of neutrality and servitorship, there are similar divisions of yoga and viyoga, but they are not variegated. The divisions of yoga and viyoga are always existing in the five mellows. However, in the transcendental mellows of friendship and eternal affection, there are many varieties of yoga and viyoga. The varieties of yoga are thus described. So, the meaning is simple, not so complicated. It's deep, but it can be summarized. That in neutrality, just like sages who meditate upon the Lord, they feel separation, and sometimes they get a vision of the Lord. But basically, their separation is of one nature. They feel themselves separated, and they don't experience so many different thoughts or pastimes in that mood of separation. They just feel, how unfortunate that I cannot see the Lord. That is their general mood. And when they see the Lord, they get this feeling of seeing the Lord, and they feel fortunate that they have seen Him, and they are in a worshipable mood. In the mood of servitorship, again, the feeling is of more or less one variety. Sometimes they feel separation, and then when they meet the Lord, their mood of awe and reverence is so powerful and strong that it eclipses any possibility of more than just great satisfaction in seeing their master. But as soon as there is friendship or paternal or maternal affection, so many thoughts come in the mind when they're separated from Krishna. And when they're meeting, there's so many possibilities of activities that go on in these relationships of friendship and paternal affection. So in Vrindavan, there's no neutrality, pure neutrality, and there's no pure servitude. Everyone in Vrindavan has mixtures of these other elements of friendship, parental affection, or conjugal love. And the pure servitorship, feeling of reverence and awe, only exists in Vaikuntha, not in Vrindavan. Neutrality is like the trees have a feeling of neutrality. But in Vrindavan, the trees are not ordinary trees. So they either feel like they're protecting Krishna as a parent would. They have that mixture of within the neutrality. They also have that parental feeling. Or if they are special trees like Kadamba trees or Tamal trees, they're mixed up in the conjugal feelings because Radharani embraces the Tamal trees. And Krishna likes so much to sit on the Kadamba, beneath the Kadamba trees. These trees have some mixture of conjugal pastimes also. So the cows have maternal affection for Krishna. The bulls have paternal affection. They all have, the calves have some sakya mood because they go out with Krishna's cowherd boys. And so there's this mixed in always. Not even the servants of Krishna have different feelings of sometimes having some friendship, or if they're elder servants, then paternal feelings. And that allows for yoga and viyoga in many varieties. Separation, the feelings of separation, and when they meet, so many varieties. So what to speak of conjugal love, which is the topmost rasa, and which therefore has the greatest variety. So here it says, they always Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always manifested all the symptoms of ecstasy in separation from Krishna. Sri Radhikara Chesta Yena Uddhava Darshane E Matadasa Prabhuda Oy Ratri Dine. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's state of mind, day and night, was practically identical to Radharani's state of mind when Uddhava came to Vrindavan to see the Gopas. So, the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is you can say the jewel of the Bhagavatam. It is the crest jewel of the whole book. And within that 10th canto, the chapters, the 5 chapters, Panchadhyaya, the 5 chapters of Ras Panchadhyaya, the Rasa Lila chapters, are considered to be very special. They are in the 29, 30, 31, 32, and 33. So then later on in the Bhagavatam's 10th canto, chapter 47, you remember what happens. Krishna sends Uddhava back to Vrindavan. Why does he send Uddhava back to Vrindavan? To observe the devotion of the gopis, of all the residents of Vrindavan, and especially of the gopis. Because Krishna wants to make it clear. Now, of all the devotees of Dwarka, the best is Uddhava. He is the minister of Krishna, he is the cousin of Krishna, and he resembles Krishna so much that when he came back to Vrindavan to meet the residents there, at first they thought Krishna had come back. He was dressed in Krishna's clothes and wearing them as prasadam. He was driving on Krishna's chariot. In practically his color, his complexion was the same as that of Krishna. So he was almost like a double to Krishna. So of all the Dwarka Vasis, Uddhava is best. Now Krishna wanted to tell him, you are the best of all, but now I want you to observe the devotion of the residents of Vrindavan, so that you can see that their devotion is unparalleled. And amongst them, I want you to see the gopis of Vrindavan, so that you will see that no one is equal to them. And amongst them, I want you to see Srimati Radharani, because no one is equal to her. So, because Uddhava is such a recognized authority, he is so intelligent. If he declares that the gopis are best, if he declares that Radharani is best, then everyone must accept his version. Because he's the minister of the Yadus. He's the most intelligent person. He's the disciple of Brihaspati. So, to let the glories of Vrindavan and the residents of Vrindavan be widely known, Krishna sent Uddhava there. And what did he find? He found that they were merged in great transcendental separation. Now, this separation has to be understood, because normally we feel separation is very painful. But the residents of Vrindavan experienced a great ecstasy from this separation, because although it appeared to the external eye that they were not with Krishna, practically they were never for a moment separated from Krishna. And Krishna actually sent a message to the gopis through Uddhava, telling them that actually we can never be separated, because it is experienced that the feeling of closeness between two persons, when they are separated and when they are always constantly remembering each other, is more intense even than when they are together physically. So the gopis were so much absorbed in thought of Krishna that they actually said that we do not know anymore if actually Krishna is there with us or if he's not. We cannot exactly tell, is Krishna now with us or not? We don't know. That's how much they were so much united with Krishna in thought that it was not as if they were actually separated. So this is called union and separation. And then there's another thing called separation and union. Krishna and Radharani and the gopis sometimes are together. So one time they were sitting beside a kund, a lake, and at that time a bee came. So Madhu Mangal, the cowherd friend of Krishna, who assists him in his dealings with the gopis, he chased away this bee, and he came back because the bee was disturbing Srimati Radharani, because the bee had taken Radharani's lotus feet to be like actual lotuses. So she had become fearful. And at that time, Madhu Mangal chased the bee away. So he came back and he reported that now I have chased Madhusudan away forever, and he will never disturb you again. And when Srimati Radharani heard that Madhusudan was gone, she immediately began to cry and faint. She fell on the ground and tears began pouring from her eyes. so much tears began pouring from her eyes. And Krishna, seeing this, and she just kept crying, Madhusudan is gone, oh my Madhusudan is gone. And even though Krishna was there, practically holding her within his arms, she felt as if he was gone, feeling so much separation from him, even though she was right there in his arms. And she was crying, and Krishna was crying, seeing her condition. And their tears formed a lake called Prem Sarovar, which is made of the tears of Radha and Krishna. So this is called separation and union. In other words, when they are apart, they get joined together by remembrance. And when they're together, they become so much overwhelmed by loving ecstasy that they feel as if they are separated from each other. So actually we cannot make out the difference so much between separation and union. Although we speak of these two as something different, yoga and viyoga, actually they're so much closely connected that there is separation and union, and there's union and separation. So it is not possible to really distinguish so clearly the two, because both exist simultaneously. So actually this is why, one of the reasons why Krishna decided to leave Vrindavan. Because he saw that as long as he was there, Radharani was feeling such condition like this, that she was crying, and even when he was there, that he began to consider what will be happening to her if it continues like this. So he thought, better that I am outside of Vrindavan, then she will be able to maintain herself better. Of course, this is a different, slightly different explanation, but there are many ways in which the Goswamis explain how Krishna has left Vrindavan. Actually, Krishna doesn't leave Vrindavan, we know that. That he only goes out of Vrindavan in his prakat or manifest form. But he is always present in Vrindavan in aprakat lila. Aprakat lila means that transcendental lila which is going on at every moment, but which cannot be seen with ordinary material eyes. Just like one time we came back into the room with Srila Prabhupada in Los Angeles. And he was in those days traveling with small Radha Krishna deities. So he came back into the room, and we came into his room, and there was only light was on the little deities of Radha and Krishna. And Prabhupada said, oh, just see Radha and Krishna are dancing tonight. So this is aprakat lila. And a devotee of Srila Prabhupada's caliber, who has the ability to perceive this manifestation of the unmanifest pastime. They're unmanifest to mortal eyes, but they're always going on, these pastimes. And it requires premanjana charita bhakti valochanena santa sadeva hridayesha valokayanti yam shama sundaram achinta guna sarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajan. It requires very high level of Krishna prema to be able to see such pastimes. So, actually those pastimes were always going on in Vrindavan, and Krishna never left Vrindavan. And all the Goswamis concur, Krishna did not leave Vrindavan. He only left in manifest form. But Prabhupada summarizes by saying, he hid himself in the hearts of the residents of Vrindavan. Prabhupada says, he hid himself in the hearts of the residents. But what else is real except the hearts of the devotee? The heart of the devotee is reality. That is the reality, not anything else. This material world is not the true reality. It is a temporary reality. But the eternal reality is what goes on in the hearts of the devotees. So, what Radharani and the gopis were feeling in separation for Krishna, which Uddhava saw, and you remember the song of the bumblebee, which Radharani is speaking to the bumblebee in the chapter 47 of Bhagavatam, 10th canto. That mood was being experienced by Lord Chaitanya. And just as Radharani was being assisted by Lalita and Vishaka gopis, so similarly Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was assisted by Swarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Roy, who are not different. They are no other than Lalita and Vishaka Devis. So they assisted Lord Chaitanya, and where is the place? In Gambhira. Therefore, in Jagannath Puri, that most sacred place of all is the Gambhira. That place, which was the residence of Lord Chaitanya, where he personally experienced all the mood of separation of Srimati Radharani. So for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the Gambhira is the best of all the places because of this loving mood that Lord Chaitanya manifested. Nirantara Boya Prabhuda Vidaha Unmad Brahma Maya Chesta Sadha Pralap Maya Vad. This is different than Maya Vad. This is not Maya Vad. Pralap Maya Vad. Vad means philosophy. Pralap Maya, the philosophy of delirium, of madness. Now the Lord constantly exhibited a state of mind reflecting the madness of separation. All his activities were based on forgetfulness, and his talks were always based on madness. So, this is another point to understand, that God knows everything. Sarva Gyan. He knows, he has all knowledge. But we see that sometimes he becomes overwhelmed by forgetfulness. So when God is forgetful, someone may wonder, how can God ever be forgetful? But here it says, his activities were all based on forgetfulness. So how can an all-knowing God have activities which are based on forgetfulness? So this is one of Jiva Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami gives this as a proof of the position, of the supreme position of Krishna. That Krishna reconciles all contradictions by his personality. Within Krishna, so many contradictory qualities simultaneously appear. And this is one of the qualifications for Godhead. For example, that he is all-knowing and yet he's forgetful. He's all forgetful. And here, his forgetfulness is possible. How? By the potency of Yogamaya. Yogamaya enables the all-knowing person Krishna to become all forgetful. And in order to experience what Radharani is feeling, surely Krishna has to forget so many things. One thing he has to do is he has to forget he's Krishna. Because Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, but he has forgotten that he's Krishna. It's not that all the time he knows, actually I'm Krishna playing like I'm Radharani. He doesn't think like that. He doesn't think like that. And Krishna never thinks when Mother Yasoda is holding a whipping stick, that actually I'm God, what can that little stick do to me? He never thinks like that. Those tears are not false tears in his eyes. And that's why Kunti Devi prays that vision of, Krishna shaking, trembling in fear, with tears coming down his cheeks as Mother Yasoda stands there to chastise him, may that vision always be present before my eyes. If it was just a show, just a drama, an act, she would not have prayed like that. But she was astonished because Kunti always could understand something about Krishna's position. Because Kunti is not a Brajvasi. Kunti Devi is from Mathura and Dwarka. Her place is Mathura and Dwarka. And in Mathura and Dwarka, sometimes there is remembrance of God as Krishna, as the Supreme Lord, and occasionally there is forgetfulness. But Kunti mostly could always understand, this is not just a nephew of mine. This is Brahman. This is Parabrahman. This is Bhagavan. This is Hari. She knew very well who Krishna was. But Yasoda never, ever thought like that. And therefore, in the list of parental personalities mentioned by Srila Rupa Goswami, the Nectar Devotion, the first position is Mother Yasoda. The next position is Nanda Maharaj. And then Rohini, and it goes on like this, more and more. But not Kunti is not equal to Yasoda. Kunti's love is not equal to Yasoda. So Kunti is saying, I want to see that because she could appreciate that not only is Yasoda so special, but Krishna himself in this mood is so unique. Here is God completely forgetting his position as God. So this forgetfulness is possible by the arrangement of Yoga Maya. And madness is very, there's a very highest stage of manifestation of prema. The devotee speaks in madness about Krishna. So we can stop here and ask if anyone has any questions. But tomorrow we can maybe continue. Some questions?
How is the Ram Sankirtan spreading the trouble you said Lord Chaitanya doesn't feel?
By a different avatar. Through chanting, but by some other avatar. Just as Krishna doesn't come in each Dwapara Yuga, he comes at a certain scheduled time. So whenever he comes, then Lord Chaitanya follows. Lord Chaitanya's activities are compared to be like an author who writes an appendix. What is an appendix? It's an afterthought, isn't it? Some thoughts that come after finishing the book are written. Isn't it called an appendix to the book? So similarly, after Krishna showed his Vrindavan pastimes, then he thought something further has to be still said. And so he came as Lord Chaitanya to fulfill the further pastimes which had not yet been done. Lord Chaitanya's pastimes begin where Krishna's pastimes end.
What did Madhya show think when she looked inside Krishna's mouth and said, "You do something"?
Yes, she thought that, oh, I have got some fever. In other words, she looked in Krishna's mouth, she saw the universe, and she thought, somehow I have become feverish, and she felt her head to see if how high it was the fever.
At no time she didn't give a thing.
Only for a slight second, and then she immediately realized, actually, I must be feverish.
Also, another question was, is it true that Srila Prabhupada said that when we worship the deities that we should worship them in the mood of awe and reverence?
Yes, because at the stage that we are at, if we try to worship the deities with the mood of the residents of Vrindavan, then we will commit so many offenses. Because we don't have that loving mood. So there, where was it? This morning I told this story. When you travel so many places, you forget where you are and where you were. I was in Sydney, and I told the story of Sanatana Goswami, how he was seeing one day that these two boys were playing. So one boy they were playing some stick game and other games together. And one of the boys was bluish black in appearance, very, very beautiful, with a peacock feather in his head. And Sanatana Goswami could sense this was Krishna. He could understand it was Krishna. And the mother of the other boy was cooking for them. And while she was cooking, she was brushing her teeth. And sometimes with the stick that she was using to brush her teeth, she was stirring the cooking. So Sanatana Goswami thought this is a big offense. Krishna is being cooked for this way. So he tried to correct her, that you should bathe, mother, you should take your bath and, properly dress yourself, and then you should cook. This is not proper. So the next day, the two boys were crying, and Sanatana Goswami could understand that they were crying because they were very hungry, but the mother was not cooking because she was bathing and doing all these other things. So then he, said, actually, you go on doing this, you are doing it. So Krishna was enjoying the saliva from the toothbrush of that mother because she was on such a high level of bhakti. But we are not like that. I said it in Sydney that if we use our Oral-B toothbrush to stir the kitchen, that we will all go to hell. So Prabhupada said that we have to worship the deities with all awe and reverence and attention to all the rules. And when we are very, very perfect, and when we receive the mercy of the Vaishnavas, mercy of Krishna, the mercy of Srimati Radharani, when so much mercy will come to us at some future stage, then we will be able to, our devotion will be transformed into the worship for Radha and Krishna. Even if you worship Radha and Krishna deities, if you are worshipping with awe and reverence, the worship is being accepted by them as Lakshmi Narayana. Because Radha and Krishna can only be worshipped in spontaneous devotion, not with awe and reverence. There is no awe and reverence in Vrindavan. There's only spontaneous love. So because we still are in the position of trying to learn that we are not our body, that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, that I should be Krishna's servant, I should give up my selfishness, I should follow my Guru's instructions, because we are still finding difficulty even on that level, then we have to understand that we are still in the mood of worshipping Lakshmi. But we can pray that please, because the pastimes of Radha and Krishna are unlimitedly more sweet than Lakshmi Narayana's, and we want to be able, this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give us, so we should pray that please help me to become a serious devotee so that I can experience this higher stage of Krishna consciousness. This is a good motivation for becoming advanced. What other payoff is there? This is the real payoff. Otherwise, what other payoff is there? Some more comfortable living arrangement, or what? What other thing is there? This actual thing, to become Sansati Harito Sanam, if you don't develop this thing, then it's all a waste of time. Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam. It's a waste of time. There's no other motivation except this.
Could you, is this video, is this in context of Jagannath Baladev Subhadra? Just recently had some days. Could you explain a little bit of the mood of what Jagannath is?
Yeah, I explained that in that drama of Lord Jagannath. At the end of the drama, it's explained by, I think, Narad Muni says. Actually, it was explained by Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He explained that the mood of Jagannath, and the explanation is given that, you see, Rohini Devi is the main person. In the Dwarka, of all the residents in Dwarka, Rohini is special, and Uddhava is special, these two. Because these are the two Dwarkavasis who got to go into Vrindavan. They entered Vrindavan. Rohini was there the whole time in Vrindavan, and Uddhava came to observe what we described. So sometimes the queens of Dwarka want to hear from Rohini about the mood of Vrindavan. So one time they were requesting, and Rohini said that I will tell you something, but don't let anybody else come in here. So they posted Subhadra on the door as a guard. And then she began to describe Krishna's dealings in Vrindavan. And when she described like this, Krishna himself, who was always in Dwarka, but actually his mind was always in Vrindavan. Krishna in Dwarka is Yadu Kumar. Krishna, he is the son of the Yadus, and he is Vasudeva Krishna. But also he is Krishna of Vrindavan in separation. So sometimes not sometimes, but all the time, he is also thinking, I want to go to Vrindavan. This has been explained in the drama Lalita Madhava by Rupa Goswami, how Krishna always is eager to return to Vrindavan. So when he heard, he wondered, what is Subhadra doing? And Subhadra was just standing there, but she didn't want him to stick around. So he could understand something was up, and he listened through the door, and he began to hear the pastimes of Vrindavan, his own pastimes being spoken by Rani. And he became stunned in ecstasy. And in that condition, just as Lord Chaitanya experienced, his limbs pulled within his body, his eyes became very widened, and he assumed a most unusual form. And Balaram, who was coming by, saw Krishna in this way, and he began to listen, and the same thing happened to his body. And seeing them, Subhadra also became ecstatic like this. And these forms were then, in that mood, Krishna, Balaram, and Subhadra were like this, stunned in ecstasy, their limbs withdrawn into their body, their eyes very, very wide, like great saucers. And at that moment, Narada Muni came. And he was astonished to see this form which he had never seen before. So he prayed to the Lord that I pray that sometime you will manifest this form within this world for the whole world to see. So that form is Jagannath, Balaram, and Subhadra. And it is Krishna, Balaram, and Subhadra, all in the mood of great feeling of separation from Vrindavan. And this is the mood in which Lord Chaitanya observes Rath Yatra. So as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we should worship Jagannath, Balaram, and Subhadra in this mood. We should, in other words, think that here is the Lord feeling intense separation. This is the Lord of Dwarka feeling intense separation. Or you can say the Lord of Vrindavan, who has gone to Dwarka and desiring again to return to Vrindavan, and feeling great separation, remembering all the Vrindavan pastimes. And you should remember the pastimes of Vrindavan, seeing Jagannath like this. That's how we should worship Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra. So, should we have a short? Okay, we'll have a little kirtan. Bring the harmony. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Ecstatic Diviti founder Acharya Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Brahman Kahosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Bhaktivedanta ki jai. Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kundaradha Kundagiri Govardhan ki jai. Sri Vrindavan ki jai. Sri Mathura ki jai. Sri Mayapurna Vidudam ki jai. Junamai ki jai. Ganga Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Sankirtan Yajna ki jai. All glories to the Son of the devotees. All glories to the Son of the devotees. All glories to the Son of the devotees. Go Premanand.